I'd first like to ask Dr. Wortman, if there's no changes in the current regulations, what effect will the accreditation requirements have on patient care and access to DME?
Well, as I said, some optometrists have already decided to drop out of DME suppliers because they've needed to re-credential with the National Clearinghouse and been told that they couldn't if they were accredited. So if I'm not a supplier of glasses after cataract surgery, those patients that I've had a really long-standing relationship with, been my patient for a number of years, I help them through the process of deciding to have cataract surgery, care after cataract surgery, I'll have to look at them and say, now you have to go somewhere else to find your glasses. And it's one time after cataract surgery. If I have a patient that doesn't have a lens implant that's aphakic and has the really thick Coke bottle glasses or contact lenses and glasses, then I have to look at them and say, I can't supply your contacts. In many cases, I can't even fit those because fitting it is really an integral part of supplying it. I can't actually fit it unless I have it. And then I can't make adjustments to it. So while those patients are becoming fewer, there's still a lot of those patients out there. So it'll really have a big impact on the patients. Financially, I don't make a lot of income off of the durable medical equipment because it's not very much for us. But to have to jump through those hoops and pay a huge credentialing fee and all the burden of trying to figure out how to get through that process, as well as be credentialed by the National Clearinghouse supplier, in addition to all my state licensure and requirements, I think a lot of us would choose just not to provide those. But that's not fair to the patients.
Thank you. I'll now yield to Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just quickly, Dr. Wortman, I think we're hearing you. I think you're aligned with Dr. Harrelson, who is saying, look, if we're the physicians, the professionals, there has to be an exception. This is common sense, by the way, and I think we get that, and let's see what we can do about it. I don't think it's going to impact in any measurable amount CMS's efforts in reducing costs. Ms. Weideman, Mr. Gilberti, I'm trying to rush this because we're going to have to go and vote, and I don't want to keep you here, and I know that Bruce might have something he wants to ask. Some people will say, and CMS may say, who cares if you guys are relegated to subcontractor status? You still have a business. You're still a small business. The way I see it, and I want you to tell me, is the problem is that the big contractor that got the bid, that had the best bid, can be unrealistic as they want to be because they're just going to be passing it on to the subcontractor. They're going to find somebody out there, hopefully. Now, it's not going to be really viable or it's going to work. What's the big disadvantage of you just being part of a subcontracting system with the winning bid?
Congressman Gonzalez, I've won in one CBA and I didn't lose, and I didn't win in another CBA. So I've seen both sides of this.
Yes, sir.
And as a winner, I don't feel like a winner because of the pricing. Because a lot of people bid out of fear and intimidation, just to try and maintain their customer base. But as a subcontractor, I'm going to have to give up another portion of margin in order to participate. That means as a subcontractor, one of the existing winners is going to want a percentage out of me. So the price then goes down probably another 10% on me. And I can't operate on that, but in order to serve my clients, I'm going to have to accept some of that.
I thank you very much for your testimony. Yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Braley.
Thank you. Ms. Weideman, I want to follow up on the point I made in the first panel about my perception that the entire purpose of this competitive bidding process is to adopt a bigger is better mentality. And you were here when the CMS representative testified that that was not his perception of the bidding process. But in your written statement, you included some interesting figures that came out of the round one bidding process. And I think it's very relevant to the discussion we're having today. You wrote only 5% of the eligible small business providers were offered a contract, and about 16% of the large providers, and that is from an earlier perception that 85% of the businesses engaged in this industry were small businesses. So one of the things that I'm troubled by as a person who represents a heavily rural district is, you know, if this was truly a free market environment, then the large companies would have the same incentive to come compete in rural America as they would in urban America. But if that were true, then we'd see Comcast providing cable TV services in West Union, Iowa, and we know that's not true. So from your perspective as a small business owner living in a small community, would you care to respond to the CMS representative about your perception of what's going on here?
Well, we already basically see it in the VA system. Patients on VA that are on oxygen in my town of West Union, the contract that the VA has at Iowa City, they come to that patient's home every month, they bring them 6 oxygen tanks, and if they run out, it's their problem. They can go back to Iowa City themselves to get more tanks, or they just go without. And that's what's going to happen in this. If the big company gets the bid, the little guy isn't down the street for, I think right now, I had a patient last week that called me on a Sunday morning. I forgot to call you and tell you I was out of tanks on Wednesday, and I really would like to go to church this morning. I met him at the office and gave him their tank. That's not going to be a viable option anymore when these big companies get the bid and they're too far away.
So in some cases, it could be a life and death matter.
Definitely.
Thank you.
They're going to go without.
I yield back, Mr. Chairman.